All right, let's bring in Lonnie Quinn here. We have our eyes on this hurricane down there going straight for Tampa. And you can't even overstate this one. This is the real deal times it feels like 10.
Look, I lived down there for almost a decade, right? And I know how hurricane savvy the residents are in Florida, and a lot of them choose not to leave. And they choose not to leave, Maurice, because we've always sounded the alarms, and plenty of times they'll take a little wobble, and they don't get the worst of it, or even when it is the worst of it, it doesn't really play out in that way, and they're like, oh boy, I evacuated for nothing. I'm not doing this anymore. I'll ride it out. I've always ridden it out. Yeah. If you've got loved ones in Florida or any sort of interest down there, tell your folks to get out of Dodge on this one. This is, I talked about this when we were chatting just yesterday. This has a real similar feel to the way Sandy approached the East Coast. Again, that beeline coming directly at the shoreline, piling up water for a couple of days straight. I think you're going to see the exact same thing. My brother is in Key Largo, and he sent me some video today. They're already starting to see action there. Key Largo, Maurice, that's the bottom of Florida. We're talking about this going up closer to like Tampa and more like the Big Bend. Guys, let's get right to weather in our area, because on the other side of the coin, it's just beautiful outside. Yeah, we had some rain this morning, but right now it's mostly clear. 71 degrees, just a beauty. It's 70s for a good chunk of the area. 74 in the Hamptons and Babylon, the warmest reading I can find anywhere. But the cooler air invading behind the front. 59 right now in Monticello, that dark green color depicting where the cooler air is. It'll eventually sweep through the entire area. So tomorrow, you're in the 60s, whereas today, 75 in Central Park, 7 degrees warmer than we typically get this time of the year. And the radar picture is showing us a sprinkle right now in Ulster County. A little bit more significant rain approaching Block Island, but I don't think it's have much of a play at all. Our front, which you can just see the rest of it now exiting, it's out, even east of Cape Cod right now. So we're done with that. Cooler air is going to be filtering in, and you know what? Rain chances over the next 7 days. I don't see any rain. I think we are virtually dry the entire time period. So if you look at how it's all going to play out with a high pressure taking over, all right, it's a little bit north of our area, that clockwise circulation, I mean, follow my hand, bringing in wind from the north. So you get cooler temperatures, cooler nights, cooler days. I mean, your highs will only max out in the 60s. Lows will be in the 50s, the 40s, even some 30s out there, north and west. And that's going to be the situation as you go right through your work week. I think we'll warm things up a little bit on the weekend, but your rain chances, now we remain bone dry. Look at that. A lot of goose eggs out there all the way through Saturday. Temperatures 75 today, 67 tomorrow, down to 65, down to 63. Again, a little bump for Saturday and Sunday, so it just means we have a nice weekend that lies ahead. Hurricane Milton, again, just a colossal monster. A Cat 5, 180-mile-per-hour winds, nothing but warm water ahead of it. I think this could potentially strengthen more. Now, as it gets closer to the peninsula, yeah, then it starts to encounter some friction with the land, and then I think it will start to, weaken a little bit. But either which way, this is going to be a major hurricane as it comes on shore. And if you look at the rapid intensification, I don't believe in my time, I certainly haven't seen this much, but 2 a.m., it had 90-mile-per-hour winds. It was a Cat 1. That's 2 a.m. this morning. 5 a.m., 100-mile-per-hour winds. We now bumped to a Cat 2. In 2 hours' time, we went from a Cat 2 to a Cat 3, almost a Cat 4. 130 would be Cat 4. Well, sure enough, 2 hours later, we've got a Cat 4, but it's almost a Cat 5. 150-mile-per-hour winds, 159, you'd have a Cat 5, and sure enough, by noon, we were 160, and right now we're 180. I mean, a monster. And in terms of how it stacks up, the biggest that we've ever had for wind speed, all right? We watch minimum central pressure and wind speed. We categorize them now just by wind speed. So Allen in 1980 gave us the biggest wind speed we've ever had for the Atlantic Basin, 190-mile-per-hour sustained winds. That's nuts, right? Wilma, 2005, gave us 185. Wilma's the record holder for the minimum central pressure, but that's another story. Irma, 180. Milton, here we are right now, 180. Katrina, 175, actually weaker than this storm is. And as it pushes through the area, it holds on to Cat 5 status, but then downgrades to a 4. And it's either a 4 or a 3 as it comes on shore sometime late Wednesday, maybe early into the morning hours of Thursday. Then it pushes across the peninsula, and right now it does not look like it wants to move in our direction. But the storm surge, that area is shaded in pink, and wouldn't you know it, it's right around Tampa. And that's 12 to 18 feet. And you see how it's got that it's almost like Cage, like a little finger that extends into the peninsula. That's where it cannot hold a lot of water, because you're going to put a crazy amount in, and it's just going to bubble up. And for the people in Tampa during the last storm, and I know you had a friend who had a tough experience there, and they picked up 6, 7 feet at their home or something like that.
Yeah. the home flooded and they lost all their cars.
Yeah, well, it's going to be worse this time. I do quickly just want to show you guys our 7-day forecast, because the way that we see this working out is in our area, we have no worries whatsoever. It looks beautiful out there. Temperatures in the 60s. Granted, Saturday you bump it up to 75, Sunday or 72, but across the board, really lovely weather here. But look, I can't help but keep my eyes on that west coast of Florida.
Well, so many people have relatives or they have friends down there. Yeah, this hits close to home, Lonnie.
Yep,
for sure.
Yeah. Heed the warnings, everybody. If your local authorities are telling your people down there to evacuate, that's it. That's it. There's no debate. If they tell you to evacuate, you evacuate.
Gotta go.
Thank you.
Thank you.